common question that we get asked right after someone hears about our sync is, how exactly does it work? What exactly is being pushed in this push of data from Zoho CRM to Xero? Well, to answer that question, I've enlisted the help of our graphics team who've come up with this amazing flowchart that will hopefully help me give you a better insight into how our sync goes down. But before we get into that, I want to make a note of the fact that our sync connects modules in both apps based on the specific relevance of the shared information. For this reason, and because they are two structurally different apps, some of the modules that are being synced aren't nominally consistent. For example, as you can see in the last peg of the flowchart, you've got the bills and the purchase orders. These two modules don't share the same name, but they still share the same type of data. Hence, they can be synced. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about the exact modules that are being incorporated in this sync. Our sync specifically correlates your contacts in Xero to your accounts and contacts in Zoho CRM, your vendors in Xero to your vendors in the CRM, your products, specifically items, in Xero to your products module in the CRM, invoices to invoices, and as I just mentioned, your bills in Xero to your Zoho CRM purchase orders. Do note that the details regarding the specifics of a couple of these modules are discussed in depth in other videos. You can also find the link to those videos in the description below. So essentially, what the Zoho CRM to Xero extension is doing is it's pushing data from these specifically defined modules to the corresponding modules in the other application. This push, however, isn't as easy as it sounds. Because of the fact that we're working with two different applications, each of them has their own unique database structures and set of business rules. So many complications arise when we attempt to make such a sync. The idea behind a contact sync is to make sure that all your business contacts are consistent and can be found in both the Zoho CRM and Xero under all the relevant information pertaining to them. Things like basic details, all the invoices and deals that they are or have been a part of. So over here, the complication stems from the differences in how the contacts modules work in both apps. See, in Zoho CRM, you can have as many contacts as you want for any particular business, but Xero caps you at 6. For the sync to work, however, you only need one contact to be specified. That is a primary contact. This primary contact acts as a pivot in the sync, effectively linking and mapping the data relevant to it onto the corresponding ID values in both apps. Basically, the way this works is our extension automatically generates IDs and module URLs based on the primary contact. It then uses these IDs to map the corresponding data onto the relevant ID number in the corresponding app. So, for any reason, if the primary contact isn't specified, these URLs and IDs won't be generated. Hence, the sync won't be able to map or link the data location for any of these apps, and the sync won't work. So now, after the primary is ticked off and the sync is working, you may be wondering what happens to the remaining contacts, especially when syncing from Zoho CRM to Xero. Well, these contacts will be synced based on whichever ones were most recently modified. So, as an example, that's what a sync does for you. It automates and compares the business rules, and taking the complexity of both the infrastructures into account, it facilitates a simple, accessible gateway for your data transition. So instead of rewriting a whole page worth of information about your client, all you gotta do with us is tick a box. Now let's move on to a few more general caveats that this sync incorporates, starting off with ID files and how many you can have.